Yeah, looking forward to. Oh, Dahlia, hello.
So
Jeremiah comes to our workshops.
Oh, regularly, but he's so private. He doesn't share. What do you
Oh, what do you mean he doesn't share?
like? How was it today? What'd you guys work on? And he just doesn't tell us.
Oh,
He's 21 now and he's private. And so I'm here to see what you guys, because I know in the beginning we were in the audience and can see. So now
yeah.
he's 21 and his own man.
Oh, well, he participates,
Mhm.
He's obviously glad to be there and
He loves it. He
good.
loves it. He's been there for years.
Right.
The people are wonderful. The families are wonderful. We couldn't afford to do it, and they gave us a grant scholarship, and it's been amazing. He loves it, and he wants to go, and he comes back happy. But I just don't. The magic in between, I don't know.
Oh, good. So we used to charge for our programs before the pandemic. And then when we pivoted to going online, we stopped charging. And then now that we're having in-person workshops again, we just decided that we're not going to charge for that either. So
Mhm.
thus the scholarship. We did have scholarships before the pandemic.
Yeah, and we needed it at that time because the regional center doesn't do anything for us. They've never done anything. And
Huh.
since he was 5 years old, we've been with them for 16 years. And the only thing they've done is wait till he's 22. Basically, that's all they've told us. And when we wanted somebody to work with them was at the beginning of COVID and no one was there. And so I feel like he's missed some gaps, and thank God for PACT, because that's the one. He used to go to the friendship circle, which was awesome. But then the shooting, and we're not Jewish, and the whole thing kind of freaked him
Oh,
out, which is understandable, happened down the street from us.
oh,
So
well.
yeah, the church was right down where that shooting. So he just doesn't want anything to do with friendship. So it's hard to find people that struggle with friends, to find their people that they really
Yeah.
connect to. And this is a good group. But
Yeah, he seems to like both the online and the in-person.
Mhm. I
Yeah,
love
that's
that.
great.
Thanks for joining, Dolly. Hi, Rima. Hi, everyone. Hi, Emily. Hi, Chip. Hi, Jeff. And Abby, our volunteer. All right, I'll go ahead and get started and then add people as they come in. Okay, couple Zoom rules for those of you who are new or haven't joined in a while. Please mute yourself when you're not speaking. We recommend speaker view for presentation. Video sharing is optional, though we love to see all your smiling faces. And please type all questions and comments into the chat. We will have a Q&A at the end, but I feel like we have a small enough group so that if you want to ask a question, feel free to raise your virtual hand or type it in the chat and I'll read it for you. But yeah, at the end, you can definitely unmute yourself and ask any questions. We'd love to hear from people. This is the time for us to connect each week, so please do. And a quick update from Autism Tree. Since January 1st of this year, we've already intaked 331 brand new families. So we are on track to hit record numbers that we've never hit before. That's already a record for us. We're only half of the way through the year. And last year, in all of the year, from January to December, we did 550. So we're on track to double that, or double this year, that 300 number. So that is new families in addition to the families that we serve every year. And we offer, or to thousands of families that we serve every year. We offer 19 programs, 13 are currently in person, 3 are hybrid, and 3 are virtual for anybody who wants to join who's outside of San Diego County. We have 13 events already on our calendar for June, and we will be scheduling more as they come up. We applied to tickets for the Padres to get Padres games for our families, free tickets for our families to go. And they approve them whenever they can. So we just add those. So always check our social media for announcements and our website calendar as well. Events this week, we actually have a Padres home game happening today. We have a lot of families, I think 10 families going today, right now, which is fun. So you'll see a post on that later today on our social media. We partner with Project Sunshine, which is a wonderful nonprofit organization as well, for their Here to Play workshops that happen once a month. We'll be having it this Saturday, June 10th at 10 a.m. to 11 a.m., where we do fun arts and crafts activities for our kids. And then we have an adaptive dance class for ages 11 through 18 this Saturday as well at 12 p.m., which happens every week. We do ages 5 through 10 and then 11 through 18, and they alternate weeks for 8-week sessions. So if you'd like to join any of those, let me know. You can reach out to me directly. And then we have 523 videos on our YouTube channel now today. So if you haven't subscribed, please do. We add content all the time that are for our families and made by our families, made by our community, to highlight what's going on in our community. And of course, these lunch and learns that we upload every week, we have 119 already uploaded. You can go back and watch any guest speaker that we've done, which we've been doing these since the pandemic started. So that brings me to today. It's our 120th Lunch and Learn. We're so honored to have Kathryn Campion, who's the co-founder and executive director at Positive Action Community Theater, based in Encinitas, come join us today. So thank you, Kathryn, for educating us on Positive Action Community Theater. I do want to hand it to Dana, our executive director and co-founder, to see if she'd like to say a few words before Kathryn starts.
Hi, everybody. It's so nice to be here with you. I feel like I've missed a lot of lunch and learns this year, and I really miss them when I'm not here because I love being with you guys, and it's really just all been because it's our 20th anniversary year, and it's just been nonstop. And I wanted to kind of share a little reflection that Rebecca and I had last night when we're working on our board meeting for next week. We just took a moment to kind of breathe and pause. And I think it's a really good thing that we can all do sometimes is to really look at what you're doing right, because you're doing so much right in your life. And sometimes we're so busy looking ahead that we don't even go, wow, I'm doing so many things right. And I've done a lot this year already. And sometimes when you're trying to look at everything you're trying to do, you forget to have joy in what you are doing. And that just kind of leads me to, having our pre-call with Kathryn honestly brought me a lot of joy, because I feel like, everyone has to, do a lot of things that maybe are challenging and hard. And I love that she's going to talk to us about improv. And I've had more than one friend in my life get into improv, and I'm very amazed by it. I think it looks super challenging, but also I know it brings people that get into it a lot of joy. And I always want to open up more doors for our Autism Tree community and family that will provide more joy. I welcome that. As busy as we are, I will welcome that. And it really lit me up knowing that Kathryn doesn't charge for the program that she's running either. So we have that in common with our organizations. And, that's really special, because in 20 years, most of our families are having to pay more to go to summer camp. It's summer right now, and it costs more to send a child with autism to summer camp. And it costs more to do most things with kids with autism that are program related. So it means a lot to me personally, Kathryn, that you don't charge families. And any of our families that get to participate in this, I'm just going to look at it as a gift. That is what we try to do with our core mission. And our core values is to embrace every family, to connect every family to resources, to empower every family we work with, and to help them create their best lives, to have the most fulfilling opportunities. And that's really our ECEC. And Rebecca and our team honestly use that daily to make sure what we're bringing forth on the Lunch and Learns and what we're focused on falls under those value systems. So I also want to give a shout out to Jeff Snyder, who's on here, Kathryn. He's coming to you from Massachusetts.
Oh,
He's been really helping us build this Lunch and Learn platform since before the schools closed, since the pandemic started. That's how we've been getting to this number 20 Lunch and Learn today. And I don't think it's any accident. I always think everything happens at exactly the time it's supposed to because it's summertime. And I know I remember being a mom when my son was home. It's like, what more we need more things to do and things that are meaningful and stimulating and fun. And so I think this timing is just really perfect. And I want to say I enjoyed the little bit that I got to meet you earlier. I'm looking forward to learning with everyone today. And just know that, it means a lot to me. We started Autism Tree 20 years ago. If you haven't met me before, me and my husband, that's my little boy back there when we started. That's really literally when he got diagnosed. He's wearing a Doug Flutie football jersey. Doug Flutie was a San Diego Charger then and helped us do our first fundraiser at Hilton Torrey Pines to really get Autism Tree started. So it just brings me a lot of joy that we're working together to make this year, our 20th anniversary year, our best year ever. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to you, Kathryn. Thank you, everybody.
All right.
okay. So I guess where I could start is where we started. In 2008, William Simonson and I decided to start a nonprofit. It was going to be a community theater to serve the general public. So, and we decided not to charge for it at first, just, to get going. So we did that, and we were drawing in some people from our community and mostly served kids. And then an article about our programs came out in a local paper. And this started, I can't quite call it an avalanche, but it was a new phase of parents with kids with autism coming to our program. And some of them were professionals in the field of movie making and things like that, and just a group of well-informed, incredible people. I've always been so impressed by the parents. So they started coming to our workshops and told us that improv and autism is like a match made in heaven. It's a fun way for them to learn social interaction. And I don't need to tell anybody here that that's a major challenge for these guys. So, but it wasn't therapy, and it wasn't, anything that felt clinical. It was just fun, and in the meantime, they were observing and practicing social interaction and communication. So we just kept going with this, and the parents joined our board. They joined our teaching staff. They helped us create our curriculum so that it best served people with autism. And on we rolled until the pandemic, and then we had to shut down our in-person workshops. And we pivoted to online workshops. And that's when the young adults with autism who had been assisting at the workshops now became the teachers of these online workshops. And they had been with us for years and assisting for years, and they were ready to lead, and they did great. They really kept our community connected and helped these guys, how isolating it was when everybody was at home. And then when you didn't have that circle of friends, which people with autism often don't, it created a community for them that they really needed, or it continued the community that they really needed. So in 2021, we started sticking our toe back into the water of in-person workshops, in and out, as COVID allowed, and hired Will Fisher, who has a master's in applied theater. So he's a beautiful guy. And he started helping to train our young adults with autism, and also took over as troupe director. We have a theater troupe made up of young adults with autism. Their first project was an anti-bullying presentation called Beyond Bullying, and they went to local schools and boys and girls clubs and performed this theater event. And everybody also here knows about bullying related to autism. So they knew from where they spoke, and we stopped that, of course, during the pandemic, and we may pick it up again. But right now we're interested in the musical that we're creating. And this troupe project, which is creating a musical through improv and meets Mondays, is directed by Will. And it is, its main objective is to bring more joy into the lives of those we serve. And it's new in that people outside of the troupe are also welcome to join us. So the 4 young adults with autism that we employ are the assistant directors, and everybody who joins, we've got a group of about 15 people that come every week, and it's just a blast. I attend that one too, and I'm a songwriter, so I'm helping to create some of the songs, and it's just a lot of fun. So we have in-person workshops, we have online workshops, just improv theater, and then we have the musical theater. And we're interested in expanding our reach to a more diverse community. Frankly, it's pretty white up here in Encinitas, and we feel like we would like to extend into a more diverse population. So we're doing one-time workshops in different areas, and we want to keep that going with Will and Joven or one of the other adults coming with to start that new. That's probably our newest path, and that's what we do.
So Kathryn, what are the age range of
Okay, yeah.
kids that you said?
So when we started, it was all kids. And then these kids grew up and turned into teenagers. And we found that the real need was with teenagers. Around 16 or so, parents were coming to us and saying, my child does not have a social group. And, you know, that's when it started to concern them, it seemed. And that's when these guys, I don't know whether people with autism are naturally inclined towards theater or whether they just all come to us. But the people that we meet with autism love theater, and they're good at it, and they're funny. And, you know, it's a way for them to shine and have fun and just master these social and communication skills. And then we started hiring them in 2016. And that was a big deal for us. We realized that it was needed. You know, these guys were talented, they were altruistic, and they needed an opportunity to be employed in something and grow professionally. So we would like that part of our program to grow as we grow. I'm not a, how can I say, I'm not a hugely ambitious person as far as growth. I'm kind of more, I see, it's interesting that Autism Tree has a tree involved, because I've always seen the real logo for us, although I don't use that as a logo, as a tree, because it's growing roots, and it's sometimes a branch will fall off, and we always get new buds in the spring. And, you know, it's just that imagery has meant a lot to me. So, and that's what we're doing. You know, we have had our community for years, and it's important to them, obviously. And the core of it is these 4 young adults with autism who kind of draw people in because they are compassionate leaders and talented actors.
Mhm.
So right now we're doing only teens and adults. And we used to do kids programs pre-pandemic. And, you know, post-pandemic, I thought, oh, a bunch of kids in a room with the COVID still circulating doesn't sound wise to me. So I never picked it up again. And I'm very happy serving the older ones because there's not a lot else for them. And they're the most interested, really.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Can you tell us a little bit about each of your program assistants, the 4 ones that you hired?
Sure. Right now, they're more than assistants, they're workshop directors. So in our in-person workshops, we have Joven and Jacob. Jacob has been with us since 2009. Joven has been with us since 2014. They're the 2 leaders. So Joven leads the online workshops. We have one weekly on Fridays. He also co-leads the Sunday in-person workshops with Jacob. And then we have 2 newer people who serve as assistants, also young adults with autism. So they are learning from these 2 guys, and all incredible people. I have a lot of respect for all of them. As do the participants. It's obvious that they do.
Love it. We have a question from Emily. She says, are there shows or performances available for younger kids to watch?
Well, one of my interests, I mean, our name is Positive Action Community Theater. So my objective is to create performances that everyone can watch, including kids. So, and that, you know, some of these guys like to get a little edgy, and so it's kind of something that I have to promote on an ongoing basis. You know, let's keep it PG, let's keep it lighthearted. So our musical, when we're ready, and I don't know when that's going to be, but it's going to be for everybody. We have had a Saturday online workshop for preteens and young teens, but there's only one person in it right now, which, you know, sometimes you need that one-on-one, and he just has needed one-on-one. And Joven has learned a lot by teaching. That's a career right there, you know. The ABA people, my daughter does that, you know, working one-on-one with people. So that's another way for him to develop his career, and the 13-year-old loves it. So we have that. But yeah, our main programs right now are for the 16 to 30 age group, I would say.
And what's the goal for, or are you able to share what the musical is? Or is it like an original, or are you doing something that's
Yeah, it's original.
Oh.
I didn't want to mess around with copyright, so I just said, let's create this from scratch. So what we do is we go into like breakout rooms during the workshop, and we just create a sketch. Like I have one of the breakouts, and we created a story about a little fairy who, the queen of the fairies has decided it's time to learn some things. So we have a magic catfish. People got to pick their own character. So one of them wanted to be a catfish. So he's a magic catfish. He's going to teach her how to swim. Then we have the prince of the fairies. And we have the magic Cheshire cat, who's going to teach her how to be still, I think. And, you know,
Yeah.
So it's developing there, and other people are developing sketches in the other breakout rooms. And now Will is kind of tying them together. But the main idea is it's an enchanted forest. And what he calls muggles, if people are familiar with that term, just regular old people, kind of wander into the forest, and they, you know, it's a whole story that's developing, but and there's a portal, and, you know, there's royalty, and, you know, so it's a lot of fun, and still in development.
Wow, it's like 100%.
Great.
Wow. Yeah, it sounds really fun.
It is fun.
Jip says, from my own experience, acting has helped me become a better counselor.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, it's really fabulous that you have such a dedicated team. that are so, and I didn't know that you had parents, helping you develop the classes for the autistic teams. I think that's
Oh,
incredible.
yes. Originally, yeah. I mean, I don't have training in autism. I don't have a child with autism. Well, I mean, I have some experience now with it, but when we first started, that wasn't where we were going without at all. So they taught us and continue to teach us, as do the participants. We are in a permanent learning mode.
I love that. I think it's so rare. I don't see that a lot in communities, and I think it's nice. It's very refreshing, and that's how it should be done. It's like we need to listen to our community. That's wonderful. Does anybody else have any other questions for Kathryn right now? You go ahead and jump out and unmute yourself if you'd like. Or type it in the chat and I'll read it.
Can you hear me?
Mhm.
Okay, Kathryn, I wanted to say that we have an annual neuroscience conference, and we always have a living autistically panel, which Jeff Snyder, who's on here, has been on. And really what we want to shine the light on is people with autism that are living successfully. Like Jeff is a self-advocate now. He lives on his own. He has multiple jobs that he does. And so I'm wondering if any of the individuals you work with, if you think they would be a good fit and want to be on the panel, because who they're educating is largely parents, and also the neuroscience community here in San Diego is pretty large. Our chairman, Dr. Motri, has the largest autism research lab in the world. It's right here in La Jolla at the Sanford
Wow.
Consortium for Regenerative Medicine. So we're in the process of putting together the panel for this year. So I'd be interested to see if you think there's any of one on your team that has autism that might be a good candidate.
Well, Joven is very articulate. And in fact, one of the things he said to me that I always remember is people are intent on having people with autism seem normal. And he said, everybody's got idiosyncrasies and we all just learn to deal with them. Why is it different if you have autism? Why can't people just accept your idiosyncrasies, look to your abilities? And so I think that's great, and he is a busy guy. But when is the event you're talking about?
It's in the, yeah, go ahead, B.
Friday, November 3rd.
Oh, I think that's a very good possibility that he could do that. I mean, the other three are wonderful too. He's just the most articulate of the three, I would say.
Yeah, that would be nice because he would be on a panel.
Yeah.
And,
oh, yeah. Sure.
Jeff,
and just send me more information and I'll pass it on and we'll see if we can make it
Jeff,
work.
I want to introduce you to Jeff. He's typing in the chat. Jeff, come on and talk a little bit about you being the moderator this year.
Yes, I will be moderating this year's Living Autistically panel. And I'm of course a veteran of the Living Autistically panel. I was on the 2019 panel just before the pandemic, and it's again, Autism Tree has been, Autism Tree was really one of the first, organizations outside of New England that I have been a part of. And I go to this conference every year to, give back and to support the organization whenever possible, as much as I can. And of course, and Living Autistically panel, last year we've had people from, we've had Matt Dunford, and a few other people that we have had on the panel last year. And then this year, I'm reaching out to a few other people. We're also going to have Thomas. Thomas was one of our previous guests on Lunch and Learn. He's a children's book author. And then we're also working on getting Serena De Jesus, who is going to be, who's a mixed martial artist. So so I mean, the more the merrier, in this case, and we be it's going to be a fun event. So
Yeah.
Great.
Thank you, Jeff. Yeah, we typically have 4, so that we could really let each person have time. And I feel like Jeff has a really good sense of what makes someone good on the panel from being so involved. Matt Dunford actually works for Upper Deck, and he's in charge of artists that want to draw for Marvel Comics. So it's very
Joven
specific.
would be very interested in that.
Yeah, he's really, really passionate. So I think that's another factor, is having individuals with autism that are passionate. Like Jeff's very passionate and is really been such a huge blessing to me and our entire team. And so, someone who, like you said, it sounds like Joven is a really great candidate. So I'm glad we're talking about it. And I'm glad we're talking about it for everyone to know that if you haven't been to or don't know about our neuroscience conference, it's something that is really important to us. And we've been working on 10 years. And the whole reason is we wanted this renowned, globally known neuroscience experts and leaders in research in San Diego are all part of the global fabric. And we wanted them to have a heart connection with actual people and families with autism. And that has happened honestly beyond my prayers. I really see that the scientists and the researchers, they have a strong desire to really know everyone, because a lot of them were doing research on autism and didn't know someone with autism, which seems absolutely insane to me and unacceptable as a parent of someone with autism. But that's why once we hit our 10-year mark, I really wanted to do it. For the sole reason of the heart connection between the neuroscience community and our community. So the level of quantum leap that we've made, I can't even quantify it, because once we spent all this money to do it virtually and then as a hybrid, we are housed on UCTV. So our chairman's from Brazil. I mean, so that opened up Brazil big time, which they wanted. And then, there's many other countries, and it's considered good, and I didn't know it. If you're doing a neuroscience talk to get like 5,000 people watching it, it's considered good, because we're talking about neuroscience. So the fact that this conference has had well over 100,000. Do you know where we're at right now with views, Rebecca?
It's 157,000. It's over 150,000.
Wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, the scientists and our chairman specifically, and our moderator, who's from the Salk Institute originally, they are just, over the moon about the quantum leap that we've made, because in the early years, the theater, it was, and I think when Jeff came, it was it was just in person. So whatever fit in the theater, which it was max 400 people. So to be able to realize, whoa, now we can do it in person and virtually, and have it to play back, because we never recorded it either. So all of it is housed on UCTV's platform and our YouTube as well. So I really encourage everyone to come if you can, if you're here locally, and if not, it's virtual too. So
it's free to
that really opened up an amazing opportunity when we all had to go online. There are so many people that have contact with what we do now that didn't before.
Yeah, I know. Right? I mean, it's crazy that none of us probably had been on Zoom before the pandemic. I never even heard of it. So yeah. Well, I'm so glad that we have a little bit more time, right? Yeah, we're doing good. I'm just glad that everyone, we're thinking kind of out of the box with how we can do more together. And I wonder if there's anyone here that has any experiences with your kids doing theater, or would this be something new? That's what I'm curious about. Who here has had their kids or theater experience?
Well, my son's in her program.
Okay.
So Yeah.
Yeah. What have you seen has helped your son with being in the program?
Well, he's very, he seems more confident. He's made some buddies there. You know, those are like his people. Like he's been going, we drive from RB to 3 o'clock in the afternoon to Encinitas every Sunday, you know? So it's kind of like a whole situation, but he wants to go. So we take him and he loves it. And, you know, he just seems more confident and more himself. Yeah. When he goes, I think more so than when he goes to school where he kind of keeps it all together and holds it in, you know, you don't have places where you can just kind of be yourself without your parents correcting, you know, it's just where he could just be himself with his people that he relates to. Like in school, he doesn't really relate to some of the students in his class because they're, you know, different grades of autism, you know what I mean? Like he talks, there's nonverbal, there's all these different, so it's maybe harder for him to make the connections in the classroom environment, but it's more of his people in her class, young adults, young teenagers that are out there and, you know, so that's what I see.
What that
Thank
reminded
you.
me of is that theater has this great combination of structure and then the avenue for creativity. It's like, okay, here's what you are going to do, and then you take it from there. So, you know, it's wonderful. Like one activity we do is, so everybody's mulling around like they're at a party, which is, you know, challenging for some of these guys, just to informally approach people and start chatting. So that in itself is a challenge. But then the teacher says, okay, now do it as if you're royalty. Now do it as if you're 5 years old. Now do it as if you have an English accent or whatever. So having the what can I say, the structure, you know, to feel comfort and then take it from there. It's just, you know, it's created some really wonderful experiences. And as I said before, a lot of the people that come to our programs have an incredible sense of humor. And so there's a lot of laughing going on, which, you know, in itself is so healing.
How often do you do improv shows?
Shows? Well, we're not performance focused. We're more process focused. So for us, every workshop is a performance, but there's not a huge audience. I asked the parents of those under 18 to stay, just because we have so many people over 18, I think it's good. So we have those parents, and sometimes a sibling will come and I'm there. And, you know, it's a great place because there's this big room and then there's a place for the tables and chairs. So people can feel comfortable. But pre-pandemic, we used to have the last session, we do 8-week sessions. The last session, we would invite family and friends. So we had a full house then, and then we created more of a performance in our improv. You know, instead of a circle, it was open to the group, and, you know, so the parents got to experience what their kids were doing or their family members were doing. But yeah, you know, the musical, we'll do that. And at some point we may get back to Beyond Bullying, but for now it's, like I said, process focused.
Yeah. I had another question. I blanked.
There's a couple people that put something in the chat. Maybe they can you can let them talk a little bit.
Yeah, Jip said from an educator's perspective, virtual has changed the dynamics of instruction. Absolutely.
I kind of wanted to hear more about your thoughts on that, Jip. I'm interested.
Well, I have to hark back all the way to when I started to become an actor. Okay.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Okay, can you hear me now?
A little
Maybe
better.
a little
Okay.
louder, maybe, if you can.
Okay, no problem. I will yell. I started my acting career 1 week before I turned 70.
Ah,
And yeah, Anyway, on cast, I'm always being typecast. The old man, the meanie, the crotchety old man. But this time I'm cast as the program was called Oliver. I can't carry a tune in a bucket. So they cast me as Oliver's grandfather, who's a very educated, I believe, individual. So they give me the script. I come home, and I used to speak the Queen's English. Certainly, sir, may I help you? So I'm reading the script. My wife looks at me. She's getting visibly upset. And finally, she blurts it out. She said, knock that crap off. And I said, blah, 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 blah. She said, Chip, you're in America. No one really cares about your accent.
Can you talk louder?
She said, you live in America. No one really gives a damn about your accent. Just get in character. Best advice she gave me. Now, getting to the educator side, many times when I'm working with kids, and they could be ADHD, they could be, autism, they could be Down syndrome, the whole spectrum. Yes, they want to learn, but you know what? They also want to be entertained. That's where I come in. And sometimes I get that deer in the headlight look, and they say, what is he going to pull next? But I've got their attention. But it gave me the confidence to be a friend. It gave me the confidence to be the counselor. It gave me a confidence to accept them. And this sounds very vague, as my equals, because that's what they are. They are just little, they're adults miniaturized. And I think once you get that feeling that, yes, he's one of us, guess what? Things just smooth out. Thank you.
Thank you, Chip.
That reminds me that we do have volunteers at all our programs. So anybody who's interested in doing that.
What do the volunteers usually help with?
They just participate as equals with the group. We don't introduce them as volunteers or make them seem apart from the group in any way. So they are an opportunity for our participants to observe and interact with typical behavior, but nobody talks about it. It's just everybody's there together.
Mm-hmm. Can you give us an example of like the structure of how you run the class?
Sure. Sure. One of the things I wanted to say about online versus in-person workshops with theater is that, lucky for us, theater is in good part a verbal art. So it does work, in ways that we used to do a dance class, which we don't anymore. In fact, I'm referring people to Autism Tree now for that, because we just couldn't figure out how to do that one online. So, but theater is amazingly effective online. So the two programs are pretty similar with some, obvious need for, change between the two. But in an in-person workshop, they'll come in, they'll be chatting, then they'll tell people to stand up for the circle. We start with a circle. Sometimes they'll do a little bit of stretching, and then we'll do just little games to get people used to talking to each other, like saying your name, and then, I would say, Kathryn, and then everybody would say Kathryn, and then somebody else would give their name and have an expression that meant something to them. Like if they love to read, it would be a book. And then people would get used to knowing their names and looking at each other. And then we have other games that are focused on people focusing on somebody, like you throw them a ball and they say thank you and say your name, and then they look at somebody else, and just real basic things to get people interacting with each other. And then we do some voice exercises to get people used to using their voices. And then we do the improv. And some of them are circle activities where everybody participates. Some of them, everyone will sit down and then a few people will come up and do an example. Like one of those would be the park bench, where 3 people come up and sit down on a park bench together. And they're all 3 different characters, like George W. Bush or whoever, you know, somebody that's famous that everybody would know. And they start talking as if they're that person. And then the other 2 people on the bench eventually guess, hopefully, who they are. And then that person leaves and another person sits down on the bench, and then they are like whoever, SpongeBob, or, you know, just whoever everybody would know. And they say things like, oh yeah, I live under the water, but I love it there. You know, something to kind of give people an idea of who they are without saying it. And people love that one.
Yeah.
We have another hitchhiker where we have 3 people sitting in a car, and then one person hitchhikes, he gets in, and he has, he talks very slowly, or he is in a hurry, or he has an accent. And when people in the car realize what his quirk is, then they all start doing it. And when the whole car starts doing it, then the driver thinks of an excuse, gets out, everybody shifts around, and another hitchhiker will come in with a new, you know, idiosyncrasy or whatever. So that's a fun one. Those are 2 big favorites.
Mhm. And these workshops are about an hour or an hour and a half?
They are an hour and a half. Our in-person workshops are an hour and a half, and that seems about right. We have somewhere between 12 and 20 people coming. 15 is a pretty good average of what we have.
And for the virtual, is that just an hour or is it an hour and a half as well?
Well, we started them as a 40-minute class because that's what the free Zoom was. And it kind of worked as a natural end. You know, it's like, okay, this is where we have to finish because it's 40 minutes. So we just kept that format. The musical improv workshop is more like an hour, hour and a quarter, or something like that.
Oh, yes. Perfect. Jeff Snyder asked, how about voice acting? Do you guys practice? Do you know anybody who's done voice acting, or?
Does that mean you're not creating the visual, you're not the visual, but you're the voice?
Yes. Yeah, because I actually tried, once upon a time, I did try to look at maybe doing some voice work. But as it turns out, there's a lot of training that you have to go through. You got to create a voice reel and all those things. And I do have a little bit of voice over talent. One of the big things is that I can do the voice of Big Macintosh from My Little Pony, and it goes like, yep, you know, that sort of thing. And
That's cool.
Well, what that reminds me of is that we're thinking about doing animation for our musical as one version of it. So that's what that would be, right?
yeah, that'd be something like that. I mean,
Mhm.
but some people prefer voice acting because they're not in front of the camera. Only their voices can be heard. So
Right.
that might be something, you know, you could consider at some point in the near future.
Mhm.
Different than the animation idea.
Well, animation and voiceover, working in tandem, because before any animation can begin, the dialogue has to be recorded, and then the animation can, be made to the voice that has been recorded. It's
Right.
been,
That's what we would be doing.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, we have one, Jacob, our other workshop director, has expressed interest in, what do you call it? A voiceover, right? Voiceover? Yeah,
voiceover.
he's interested in that.
And when you say animation, do you have somebody already that is interested in animating your musical?
No, it was just an idea I had 2 weeks ago and everybody loved it. So, I mean, we never know what our resources are until we come up with an idea, and, then the resources often find their way to us. So, but right now we're just creating the musical. But I think, I mean, this is Brady Bunch style, right? All of us in the little boxes, it works. But I think to create a musical that draws people in, I think animation might be funner, more effective. We'll see.
Yeah, love it.
I think Rima typed something in too.
I did. I just wanted to share that I don't have kids with autism, but I work with a lot of families that do. And families have shared with me that prior to taking an improv class, their kids were really struggling socially, struggling with confidence, not just social confidence, but just kind of all around. And taking either a theater class or an improv class really helped them find their voice, and be able to take those skills and use them like in all other areas of their life. So I think programs like yours are just vital to our families as they grow up and become, adults that are confident in their ability to interact with everybody in the world.
Rima, where do you work at? Are you an ABA or?
Yeah, I'm the regional director for CAIO. We're an ABA agency.
Okay, great. Yeah, I recognize your name.
Rima's joined us on our Lunch and Learns before. I love it. Thanks, Rima. And Karen Wright also put something in the chat, and it's a really sweet message, so I'll read it. She says, "This is fabulous," 2 exclamation points. Raising our family, we were all about putting on musicals for family and friends. This was a creative way to celebrate and led our son to being a talented musician and our daughter to major in communications in college.
Oh,
So thank you for
great.
sharing your gift in such an uplifting way. What a rich experience for everyone. I agree.
And Kathryn, just so you know, Karen Wright's been with the foundation for 20 years, and she's our director of ministry. And Rebecca and I depend on Karen literally every day, sometimes for our own selves, but just when people in our community, in our Autism Tree family and beyond are going through what would be a very insane, hardcore challenge like cancer or losing someone, like something very significant, Karen prays with them. And it really doesn't matter, what religion or beliefs a person has. That's just Karen's gift. And she actually set up for our team on Monday. We had an incredible training, and I'm just so grateful because it's been 20 years and the training was really geared at the pastor, and he has his PhD and he's a first responder for all of San Diego County. So when there's catastrophes that are happening ongoingly with children passing away or any number of things, he just happened to mention these little children that he's been involved with that passed away and how hard that is, and just bigger catastrophes, of course, too. But he supports the first responders,
Wow.
the trainer that Karen brought in for us. And I had actually known Mickey Stonier and of him because he's been such a force in San Diego for so long. But it was quite a privilege and a blessing that Karen had him come and train and work with us, because as Rebecca illuminated earlier in the Lunch and Learn, we have over 330 brand new families that have done the intake process. That means they fill out a form. They're sharing about not just their child, but their family. Many of our families have a child that has special needs other than autism. So they have at least one child with autism, but they have other children many times that have other special needs.
Huh.
So I want everyone to know, if you don't know Karen Wright, she is our director of ministry, and really is here for our large communities. She helps people that are friends of someone with Autism Tree, many times. And I'm just really grateful that she's usually here on each Lunch and Learn, and she's usually always a source of giving back a lot of really great feedback to the speakers too. So thank you, Karen, and I'm glad for you to meet everyone to know who Karen is too.
Wonderful.
Yeah. Emily, I want to say hi to you, and I don't know if there's anything you want to contribute. I feel like we've gotten here a little bit from everybody, almost. Emily and Abby. Do you know Emily and Abby, Rebecca?
Yes, I do. Emily's one of our moms, and she might be multitasking and working as well as watching the lunch and learn. She's joined.
Okay.
She has two sons, Dominic and Diego. And Emily is just wonderful. She comes to a lot of our USD baseball and football events, and her son Diego has autism. And I forgot how old he is, Emily. It's been crazy because sometimes I think that they're younger because the pandemic is like lost years. So.
And then they grow up, don't they?
Yeah, so he's like between 8 and 10, but they're super sweet. And then Abby is one of our volunteers. Abby, I'd love for you to say hi to everyone because you're one of our amazing volunteers who is a virtual volunteer. She lives in LA County, I believe, Abby. And
yeah, that's correct.
Can we see your face? Do you have a camera?
Yes, give me a minute.
Okay. Yay. So Abby,
Perfect timing, because we're going to take a picture as a group pretty soon. So this is perfect timing, Abby.
Hello.
Hi.
It was really nice hearing about this. I have a few friends and I have the thespians club at our school, and I've really seen how diverse it is and a bunch of people join it. I personally do not really have an interest in theater, so I just keep around it, but I do know a few friends of mine who do theater and have a bunch of fun, so it's nice seeing this happen.
Abby, what school are you at?
I go to Legacy Magnet Academy in Tustin.
In Tustin? And that's wonderful. What year are you?
I'm a rising senior.
Oh my gosh. That's exciting.
Not really, but okay.
Abby, I feel like you've been around for a long time. I think like, what, has it been 2 years or has it only
Yeah, I
been?
think it's been 2 years.
Wow. I was during the pandemic, right?
Yeah.
First reach out. So she comes to all of our virtual programs, like our coding workshops and girls in STEM and our lunch learns.
Abby, do you have a favorite Autism Tree program that you've helped with?
All of them were my favorites.
Oh,
That's a nice answer. Oh,
Well, perfect. Can take our little picture to wrap it up.
Jeff, can we see your face, or Emily, or I'm not sure, Karen, I know you had trouble with your camera.
Yeah, sorry about that. I'm actually in the middle of doing a album from my scholarship presentation, so that's why I was a little late turning my camera on.
Oh, no problem. That's exciting.
Yeah, everyone, Jeff has a blog and he constantly posts about, trips that he does and all that stuff. It's fun. Okay, so everybody just smile at the camera and say cheese. Ready? 3, 2, 1, cheese. Perfect. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Kathryn.
oh, sure, my pleasure. Nice to meet you all.
Rebecca, stay on with me just for 1 minute.
Okay.
Take care, guys.
Bye.
Bye,
Thank you,
everyone.
Kathryn. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Bye, Rebecca.
Bye. Bye, guys.
Bye.